Ikigai, the secret to finding your life's true purpose. Japanese philosophy. The hospital room smelled of antiseptic and regret. David Morrison sat beside his father's bed, watching machines monitor a life that had been spent chasing everything except meaning. 73 years, his father rasped, tubes restricting his movement. And I still don't know why I was here. David had no answer. At 42, recently divorced, financially successful but emotionally bankrupt, he understood the sentiment too well. He had climbed every ladder society had placed before him, only to discover they were all leaning against the wrong walls. 3 weeks later, standing at his father's grave, David made a decision that would have seemed insane to his colleagues. He bought a one-way ticket to Okinawa, Japan, the island where people lived longer than anywhere else on Earth, not just in years, but in purpose. He needed to understand what his father, and he himself, had been missing. The village of Long Life, the village of Ogimi, sat nestled in Okinawa's northern mountains, its streets narrow and winding, its pace deliberate. David had read that this was one of the world's blue zones, places where people routinely lived past 100, not just surviving but thriving, engaged, purposeful. His host, arranged through a friend of a friend, was Tanaka-san, a 96-year-old man who still tended his garden every morning, still taught calligraphy to children every afternoon, still laughed with a fullness that David had forgotten was possible. "You are here to find Ikigai," Tanaka said on David's first morning, not as a question, but as a statement. He poured tea with hands that trembled slightly, but never spilled a drop. "I don't even know what that word means," David admitted. "Good. Then you can learn it truly, not just intellectually." Tanaka smiled, the wrinkles around his eyes deepening. "Ikigai is the reason you get up in the morning, but not the reason someone tells you to get up, the reason that rises from your own heart." He gestured to the garden visible through the open door, where vegetables grew in precise rows. "In the West, you search for happiness. In Japan, we cultivate Ikigai. They are not the same. What's the difference? Happiness is a feeling, like weather, sometimes present, sometimes not. Ikigai is a direction, like north, always there, always guiding, whether you feel happy or not." Tanaka stood with surprising grace. "Come, I will introduce you to people who can teach you what I cannot explain." The 4 questions there. First stop was a small pottery studio where Nakamura-san, an 88-year-old woman, shaped clay with hands that moved like water. She had been making pottery for 74 years. "Do you still enjoy it?" David asked through Tanaka's translation. She looked puzzled by the question. "Enjoy. Sometimes yes, sometimes no, but that is not why I do it." "Then why?" She held up a tea bowl, its glaze the color of morning sky. "Because the world needs beauty, because I can create it, because it is mine to offer, because it connects me to everyone who will drink from this cup." Tanaka nodded to David. She has just described Ikigai, though she would never say so. Listen to what she said again: what the world needs, what she can do, what she has to offer, what connects her to others. Over the following days, Tanaka introduced David to a 92-year-old fisherman who still went to sea, a 101-year-old woman who taught traditional dance, an 85-year-old man who maintained the village shrine, a 94-year-old teacher who tutored struggling students. Each conversation revealed the same invisible structure, the same 4 elements that, when aligned, created Ikigai: what you love, what you are good at, what the world needs, what you can be valued for. "But this is just the Venn diagram I've seen online," David protested to Tanaka. 4 circles overlapping, Ikigai in the center. "I've seen this before." "You have seen the map?" Tanaka said. "But a map is not the territory. You can study a map of Mount Fuji your whole life and never know what it is to climb it. Come now, we begin the real teaching." The first circle, what you love, passion. Tanaka took David to meet Yoshida-san, a 78-year-old beekeeper whose face lit up when he spoke about his hives. "I discovered bees when I was 23, Yoshida explained, suiting up to check his colonies. "I was a salaryman in Tokyo, successful, miserable. One weekend, visiting my uncle's farm, I watched bees work. Something in me woke up." He opened a hive, smoke calming the inhabitants. "Everyone told me I was crazy to leave my career. My father didn't speak to me for 2 years. But when I watched these creatures, their cooperation, their dedication, their perfect contribution to something larger than themselves, I felt alive for the first time." David watched, fascinated despite his initial fear. "But how did you know? This was what you loved, not just a passing interest." "Ah," Yoshida smiled. "This is the wisdom people miss. What you love is not the same as what entertains you." He pointed to the hive. "Entertainment makes time disappear. Love makes you aware of every moment. I can watch television and hours vanish. I can tend bees, and each minute is full, present, rich, even the difficult minutes, even the moments when I'm stung." So passion is not about pleasure. Passion is about aliveness. When you are doing what you truly love, you feel most yourself. Not happy always, but most deeply you, Tanaka added. "In the West, you are told to follow your passion, as if passion is a fixed thing you discover. In Japan, we understand. Passion is cultivated. It grows through attention, through practice, through relationship." The practice, Yoshida handed David a journal. "For 30 days, notice what makes you feel most alive, not most entertained, most alive." Notice what you lose track of time doing, not because hours disappear, but because each moment feels full. Notice what you would do even if it was difficult, even if you weren't paid, even if no one praised you. This is the first circle. The second circle, what you are good at profession. The next teacher was Sato-san, an 89-year-old carpenter whose workshop smelled of cedar and thyme. People confuse talent with skill, Sato said, planing a board with long, smooth strokes. They think, I am not talented at this, therefore I cannot be good at it. This is backwards. He held up his hands, gnarled and scarred. When I started, I was terrible, clumsy. I cut myself, wasted wood, made furniture that fell apart. But I had patience, and patience defeats talent every time. David watched him work, each movement economical and precise. How long before you were good? I am still becoming good. 68 years, and still learning. This is the point people miss. What you are good at is not what comes easily, it is what you are willing to practice until it becomes part of you. Sato set down his plane. The modern world tells you, find your natural talent and exploit it. This is foolish. Natural talent runs out quickly. Cultivated skill deepens forever. So how do I know what to cultivate? Where your love meets your effort, that is what you cultivate. I love wood. I loved it even when I was bad at working with it. So I practiced 10,000 hours, they say now. I practiced 10,000 hours many times over. Tanaka interjected. In Japan, we have a concept kodawari. It means an uncompromising dedication to craft, a relentless pursuit of perfection in your chosen field. Not for recognition, but because the work itself demands it. Sato nodded. When you find what you love, and you practice it with kodawari, what you are good at emerges naturally. But it takes time. The Americans want instant Ikigai. We know Ikigai is a lifetime's work. The practice. Choose one thing, just one that you love enough to practice badly, Sato instructed. Not something you're already good at, something you love despite being terrible at it. Practice it daily for 1 year, not for mastery, but for relationship. What you are good at is what you befriend through repetition. The third circle, what the world needs. Mission Tanaka brought David to the village community center, where Kimura-san, a 95-year-old woman, coordinated volunteer activities for elderly residents, helping even more elderly residents. You Westerners think purpose is something grand, she said, organizing meal deliveries. You want to change the world? Save humanity. Leave a legacy. This is ego disguised as purpose. She handed David a bento box to deliver to a homebound neighbor. Come. They walked to a small house where a 102-year-old man lived alone. Kimura delivered the meal, chatted for 10 minutes about the weather and the man's grandchildren, adjusted a pillow, watered a plant, and left. That is what the world needs, she said simply. Delivering lunch, noticing, caring, showing up. The world does not need more people trying to be important. It needs more people willing to be useful. Back at the center, she explained, what the world needs is not abstract. It is specific. It is not ending poverty. It is ensuring Mrs. Tanaka has food today. It is not advancing human knowledge. It is helping one struggling student understand mathematics. David frowned. But shouldn't we think bigger? Try to make a larger impact. You can only serve what is in front of you, Kimura replied. When you serve one person completely, you serve humanity. When you try to serve humanity abstractly, you serve no one, Tanaka added. This is why Ikigai creates long life. It is not stress-free. These people work hard, but the work is immediate, tangible, connected. You see the need, you meet the need, you witness the impact. This creates meaning that abstract purpose never can. The practice for 1 month. Notice what breaks your heart. Kimura instructed, not global issues that make you feel guilty. Small, specific things in your immediate environment that genuinely pain you to see. Someone lonely. Something beautiful being destroyed. A skill being lost. A need going unmet. What the world needs is what breaks your heart right in front of you. The fourth circle, what you can be valued for vocation. The fourth teacher was Hayashi, an 81-year-old man who made traditional sandals waraji by hand. I do not make much money, he said, braiding straw with meditative focus. In the old days, everyone needed these. Now, almost no one. But still, I am valued. By whom? By the few who understand. By the tradition itself. By the craft. By the people who commission custom pairs for special occasions. He held up a completed sandal. Value is not the same as price. David was confused. But don't we need to make a living? Yes, but making a living and being valued are not the same. Many people make much money and feel worthless. Some make little money and feel invaluable. Hayashi set aside his work. The question is not how can I get rich. The question is, how can I offer something someone needs enough to exchange value for it? Sometimes that value is money. Sometimes respect. Sometimes gratitude. Sometimes simply the joy of serving well. He smiled. I make enough from sandals to live simply. I am valued by those who commission them. I am valued by apprentices who want to learn. I am valued by my own sense of contributing to continuity. This is enough. Tanaka explained. In the West, you separate work from purpose. As if money work is one thing, and meaningful work is another. In Japan, we try to integrate them. What you can be valued for is the bridge between your passion and the marketplace, between your skill and others' needs. But what if what I love has no market value? Then you adjust, but don't abandon. The beekeeper also sells honey, not just keeps bees. The potter also takes commissions, not just makes art. The carpenter also builds what people need, not just what he wants to create. Integration, not separation. The practice. List your skills and passions, Hayashi said. Now ask, who needs this? Who would value this enough to exchange something for it? Start small. One person, one exchange, one offering. Don't try to monetize your purpose immediately. Instead, let your purpose gradually become sustainable. The center, where circles overlap after meeting all 4 teachers. David sat with Tanaka overlooking the ocean. I understand the 4 circles now, David said, but how do they come together? Tanaka drew in the sand. Passion without skill is frustration. You love it but cannot do it well. Skill without passion is empty. Can do it but feel dead inside. Passion and skill without need is irrelevance. You love it, you're good at it, but nobody cares. All 3 without value is poverty or fulfilled, but cannot sustain yourself. He drew a small circle in the center where all 4 overlapped. Ikigai lives here, where all 4 meet. Not perfectly. Perfection is impossible, but well enough, aligned enough, integrated enough. How do I find this center? You don't find it, you build it. Piece by piece, year by year, adjustment by adjustment. Ikigai is not discovered, it is cultivated. The 10 principles of Ikigai over the following weeks as David lived in the village, helped in gardens, delivered meals, learned to make pottery. He began to understand that Ikigai was not just about the 4 circles. It was a way of living. Tanaka finally shared what he called the 10 principles. Principle 1. Start small. Your Ikigai does not need to be grand, Tanaka said. Nakamura's pottery, Yoshida's bees, Hayashi's sandals. All small, all sufficient. Start with what is in front of you. Principle 2. Release yourself. Let go of who you think you should be. Your parents' expectations, society's definitions of success, your own ego's demands. Ikigai emerges when you stop performing and start being. Principle 3. Harmony and sustainability. Notice the villagers work hard but not violently. They rest but not excessively. Everything in balance. Ikigai is not achieved through burnout. It requires sustainable rhythm. Principle 4. The joy of little things. Find pleasure in simple, daily activities. Morning tea, evening walk, the texture of wood, the smell of earth. Ikigai is built on accumulated small joys, not rare peak experiences. Principle 5. Be in the here and now. Yoshida with his bees. Sato with his wood. Nakamura with her clay, all completely present, not thinking about yesterday or tomorrow. Ikigai requires presence. Principle 6. Reconnect with nature. Every elder here gardens, walks, works with natural materials. Nature reminds us we are part of something larger. This perspective is essential for Ikigai. Principle 7. Give thanks, gratitude for what is, rather than complain about what isn't. Every meal here begins with itadakimosu. I humbly receive. This mindset transforms work into service. Principle 8. Live in the moment, similar to presence, but deeper. Not just being here now, but accepting that now is enough. Not waiting for some future moment when Ikigai will arrive. It is here or nowhere. Principle 9. Follow your Ikigai. Once you sense it, even faintly move toward it. Not recklessly abandoning everything, but gradually adjusting your life to align with it. Small steps, consistent direction. Principle 10. Embrace imperfection. Your Ikigai will never be perfect. The 4 circles will never align completely. You will always have doubts, struggles, questions. This is natural. Ikigai is not about perfection, it is about wholehearted engagement with imperfect life. The journey inward. One evening, David sat in Tanaka's garden, journal open, trying to identify his own Ikigai. What do I love? He wrote. Teaching, explaining complex things simply, seeing understanding light up in someone's eyes. What am I good at? Financial analysis, system design, seeing patterns in data. What does the world need? Financial literacy, help navigating complex economic decisions. Protection from predatory systems. What can I be valued for? Consulting, teaching, writing, speaking. He looked up to find Tanaka watching him. I think I see it, David said. I could teach financial literacy to people who've been excluded from these systems. Use my analytical skills for education instead of profit maximization. Perhaps, Tanaka said, but do not rush. Sit with this. Test it. Try small experiments. Remember, Ikigai is not a decision you make once. It is a relationship you cultivate over time. How do I know if it's real? You will feel it. Not constant happiness, that is a myth, but a sense of rightness, of alignment, of being where you belong, doing what is yours to do. The Japanese have another word, ibasho, the place where you can be yourself. Ikigai gives you ibasho. The return. 3 months later, David prepared to leave Okinawa. He had not found some magical answer that solved all his problems, but something fundamental had shifted. Before leaving, he visited each of his teachers one final time. Yoshida, the beekeeper, remember what you love will change. Stay curious. Keep noticing what makes you feel alive. Sato, the carpenter. Practice with patience. Skill takes time. Trust the process. Kimura, the volunteer. Serve what is in front of you. Grand purpose is just ego. Real purpose is present. Hayashi, the sandal maker. Value is not the same as price. Offer something genuine, and genuine people will value it. And finally, Tanaka, you came here empty, searching for something outside yourself. You leave still searching, but now you know Ikigai is not out there. It is the intersection of your own authentic elements. You already have everything you need. Now you must simply align it. 6 months later, David stood in a community center in his hometown, teaching financial literacy to recent immigrants. The class was small, just 8 people. The pay was minimal. By his former standards, this was a massive step down. But as he explained compound interest, as he saw understanding dawn in a single mother's eyes, as he helped an elderly couple understand their retirement options, he felt something he'd never felt in decades of corporate success. He felt useful, needed, aligned. His mornings now began differently, not with dread and coffee and forcing himself into someone else's definition of success, but with a quiet sense of direction. He knew why he was getting up. He still did some consulting, enough to pay bills and then some, but the center of his life had shifted. The 4 circles weren't perfectly aligned. They probably never would be, but they overlapped enough. He loved teaching financial concepts. He was good at making complexity clear. The world needed this knowledge shared, especially with those who'd been excluded, and he could create enough value through classes, through writing, through consulting, to sustain himself. It wasn't perfect. Some days were hard, some classes flopped, some students didn't care, but even on difficult days, he felt oriented, aligned, purposeful. He had found his Ikigai not as a destination, but as a direction. The letter. 1 year after returning from Okinawa, David received a letter from Tanaka. The old man's handwriting was shaky but clear. David-san, I hear from mutual friends that you are teaching now, that you have found work that feels aligned. I am glad, but I must warn you, Ikigai is not a destination where you arrive and rest. It is a direction you must adjust constantly. Your 4 circles will shift as you age. What you love will evolve. What you're good at will deepen. What the world needs will change. What can be valued fluctuates with seasons. The practice is constant realignment. Not starting over, but adjusting. Like a ship sailing, you do not choose a direction once, and then ignore the wheel. You constantly make small corrections. This is why Ikigai creates long life. Not because it makes life easy, but because it makes life engaging. We do not die from age, we die from loss of purpose. Keep practicing, keep adjusting, keep aligning. And remember, Ikigai is not about finding perfect work. It is about bringing your full self to whatever work you choose. With respect, Tanaka. David folded the letter and placed it in his journal. Next to the diagram he'd drawn of his 4 circles, they had shifted slightly even in this year. His passion had refined. His skills had deepened. The needs he was meeting had become clearer. The value exchange had adjusted. But the center, that sweet spot where all 4 overlapped, different than a year ago, but still there. Still his, still enough. The truth about Ikigai lay one evening, preparing a class, David reflected on what he'd learned. The Western interpretation of Ikigai, the 4-circle Venn diagram, wasn't wrong, but it was incomplete. Ikigai wasn't just about finding the intersection of 4 things. It was about daily practice, showing up consistently, even when uninspired, small joys, finding pleasure in the mundane aspects of your purpose, presence, being fully engaged with each moment of the work service, focusing outward, on contribution, not inward, on achievement, patience, understanding that alignment takes years, not days, flexibility, adjusting as you and the world change, integration, bringing all of yourself to your work, not compartmentalized intis, maintaining rhythms that can last decades, not months, imperfection, accepting that the circles will never align perfectly, process, finding meaning in the journey, not just the destination. Standing at his father's grave on the anniversary of his death, David finally had an answer to that hospital room lament. You asked why you were here, David said quietly. I don't think there's one grand reason. I think we're here to find the intersection, the place where what we love, what we're good at, what the world needs, and what sustains us all meet, and then to live there, as fully as we can, for as long as we're given. The wind rustled through the cemetery trees. I found mine, Dad. Not perfectly, but enough. I hope you're at peace now. And I hope, somehow, you know it's never too late to start looking. Even on a hospital bed, even with days left, there's still time to ask, what is mine to do? What is mine to offer? What makes me feel most alive and most useful? That's Ikigai, and it was here all along. The practice continues. David's students arrived for evening class. 8 people, each with their own struggles, their own questions about money, and life, and purpose, as he taught, breaking down complex concepts. Seeing understanding bloom, serving the need right in front of him, he felt it again, that sense of rightness, of alignment, of being exactly where he belonged, doing exactly what was his to do, not perfect, not complete, not finished, but aligned, present, purposeful, alive. His Ikigai, and it was enough.